So, let's read of this verse so we can. Well, we'll generally. They say that this refers to homosexuality because of the angels, and they thought they were men. But I would say that this punishment proceeded just because it was angels and not really that they were men. God would have found it really bad if they had touched the angels. Here's where 19 starts. It's a little bit different and it's more cohesive, but I don't see how they translated it completely this way by reading the literal text. So let me read that. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came with you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of our way, they replied. And they said, this fellow came here as an alien, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house, and they shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the man grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and his two daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. And as soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, no, my lords, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, there's a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. He said to him, very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there, because I cannot do anything until you reach it. That is why the town was called Zoar. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land. What we were reading there is, I'm trying to figure out how those two go together exactly. So now I'm going to go to another passage. I really don't understand how that works, because it just doesn't sound the same in Hebrew as it does English. And now there was another verse, and I'll look it up. Alright. And they were trying to say a whole bunch of verses refer to homosexuality that really don't. But let's just read in English some of the translations. They have as Genesis 18:20 through 21. Then the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know. So that doesn't really say that the sin is focused on being gay, or if it's multiple other things. That one, let's see. And here's an interesting one they quote from Deuteronomy, which is 23:17. This is why it might have been about male temple prostitutes, because it says, Deuteronomy 23:17 says, none of the daughters of Israel shall be a cult prostitute, and none of the sons of Israel shall be a cult prostitute. I have looked up the verse online that I was thinking of. It's in Ezekiel 16:49. Notice that it doesn't mention the sin that they said that it was the sin of homosexuality. And this is an argument that I found online too, so I'll read maybe a couple of versions. I'll see, let me read. They have the New Living Translation. This is at BibleHub.com. It'll be Ezekiel 16:49. The New International Version says, now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. The New Living Translation says Sodom's sins were pride, gluttony, and laziness, while the poor and needy suffered outside her door. Anyway, notice the total lack of accusing them of what I just said. Total lack of it. So, if that was the main sin, why does everybody read into that it was the homosexuality? I've seen the argument online. I will look that up and see if I can find the page for you. Okay, I haven't found the article I originally read years ago, but I found an article on interesting literature about it, and it points out a few facts that they didn't mention. It has a story behind it. Well, it did mention in the article he looks like a bad person just because he offered his virgin daughters to these people who demanded that the men be put out. But that's another thing I was going to mention. That's not very nice of him. But let's go to, it says something about sodomy was not the sole sin, even if sodomite came to refer to that specific activity of relations between men. Some rabbinic writings that are not in the Bible or Torah says they also committed economic crimes, among other things. And elsewhere in the Bible itself, it says Sodom and Gomorrah were guilty of many other sins. They also have Jeremiah 23:14 cited, saying their sin is adultery. And Ezekiel, he quotes pride, idleness, and fullness of bread. What is strange that they never mentioned there were 5 cities, and 2 others were destroyed, called Adbah and Zeboim. But their sins were not just limited to one thing. Basically, I'm trying to get from this article. It says it's a moral lesson, but it's not. The precise nature of the sins are never really completely revealed. So this one's probably the best example. There might be other versions of this commentary, like a different commentary by different people who want to still emphasize what people think of Sodom and Gomorrah now. But I looked it up on a site, and if there was multiple sins, maybe it was more that they wanted to force this on these people. That was the splintering point than the actual act. So why I'm revisiting this stuff is because I want people to know that really it's not in the 10 Commandments at all about this. This is the statutes after they are given the 10 Commandments. This is part of the statutes. So you can think what you want about it. I'm not going to say that whether your beliefs are right or wrong. I just don't find it a good thing to focus on that as an excuse to be bad to people who are gay. And really, Jesus said to focus on the first 2 commandments mostly. So I don't think he wants us to go out and punish people for being something that they might be whatever they might have been born with some sort of tendency, or it might have happened in their mind. I don't know what happens with this stuff, but I'm just saying, don't focus on it so intently. I don't think that's what God wants the Bible to be about. Well, I would like to say that I believe that it's more about when you get to the New Testament, you focus on your own sins and not worry about the sins of others. And I just wanted to come back to this because I know people would say, oh, but what about the Old Testament when you made the new video? Well, really, it's difficult to tell what exactly it meant. Sometimes there have been websites that said this. It also could mean that they're referring to a bed, actually, a woman's bed, not, and not the act. But that would be kind of weird law, but, they can't sleep in the woman's bed. But I don't know. And anyway, I'm not saying anybody's beliefs are right or wrong. I'm saying that I don't find a cause to focus on this. I don't think we should continue persecuting people because everybody's a sinner, and that's just it. That's my case for this. I'm just saying, just in case you might be wrong about certain things. I don't know. I can't retranslate a Hebrew Bible. And I don't know if it just got passed down and then I don't know what happened with the Old Testament, if stuff got misinterpreted or whatever happened. I couldn't tell you. That's in history. We wouldn't know that. They said it was oral tradition until it was written down. So, I don't. That's what I was told. It was oral tradition. It wasn't always in book form, the entire Bible. So, my main point was just don't focus on this issue so much. It's not very productive. Spreading a message of love one another and forgiveness of sins is the main focus of Christianity. And to worry about the rest and harp on about it isn't going to do much good. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll get my other computer fixed soon.